Okay, so if you've been anywhere near the internet today,
Oh, you already know.
you already know what we're talking about. It is February 12th, 2026, and my phone has not stopped buzzing.
Right. The first trailer for Spider-Noir has officially dropped.
It's about time. We have been hearing whispers about this project since, what, 2023?
Feels like it. We've been tracking production leaks for 3 years just to see, what the lighting would look like.
And now that we have seen it,
Mm-hmm.
well, it's pretty startling. We're looking at a live-action,
Yeah.
fully noir-inspired series.
Set in 1930s New York City, gritty, stylized, and right there in the middle of it all is Nicolas Cage.
Playing this aging, hard-boiled version of Spider-Man.
But, and this is the key thing right off the bat, this is not the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man we've been watching for decades.
No.
This is a genre experiment. It really feels like they're trying to mix that hard-boiled detective fiction with Marvel iconography in a way live action hasn't really tried before.
That is exactly why we're doing this deep dive. We're not just going to react to the trailer. We have a huge stack of sources here.
Production notes, casting announcements, showrunner interviews.
All the documents that explain how this thing actually got made.
And looking through them, the development history is fascinating. It shows they're taking some very specific, very intentional risks with the canon.
Yeah, this isn't just a superhero show with a black and white filter slapped on.
Not at all.
So let's start with the anchor of the whole project. Nicolas Cage. I mean, people loved him as the voice in the Spider-Verse movies.
They did.
But playing this character in live action is a completely different beast.
It is. In animation, you have a certain level of abstraction. Live action, especially noir, it has to feel grounded.
And what really stands out in the production notes is how he describes his performance. He gave this ratio that I can't stop thinking about.
Oh, the Bogart Bugs Bunny quote.
Yes. He said he's playing it 70% Humphrey Bogart and 30% Bugs Bunny.
Which on the surface sounds like a joke, right?
A little bit. Yeah. But then you watch the footage, and you kind of see it. You get the Bogart, the trench coat, the fedora, the weariness.
But that Bugs Bunny part,
Yeah.
that implies a trickster, a chaotic energy.
Exactly. Spider-Man's always been a bit of a wisecracker, but Cage frames it in this really interesting psychological way. He said he sees the character as a spider trying to cosplay as a human.
That is such a specific and, frankly, kind of disturbing metaphor.
Cosplay as a human. It suggests he's not comfortable in his own skin.
Not at all. And if you look at the inspirations he listed, he's pulling from a very specific period of cinema to build this guy. James Cagney, Edward G. Robinson.
For that tough guy dialect.
Right. But he specifically pointed to Humphrey Bogart in The Big Sleep from 1946 as a primary reference.
Which is a great reference point because that movie's plot is famously convoluted.
A total mess. Even the writers didn't know who committed one of the murders.
Exactly. And Bogart's character in that, he's constantly undercover, constantly lying, just shifting his persona to survive.
So Cage is channeling that energy. A man wearing a mask even when he isn't wearing the spider mask.
The producers, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, had a really compelling way to describe where he is mentally when the show begins.
I saw that, yeah.
They said this version of the character already had his Chinatown disillusionment moment years ago.
And that is such a crucial anchor. For anyone who hasn't seen Chinatown, that moment is about the total collapse of idealism.
It's a point where you realize the corruption is too big, the system is broken, and you just can't save everyone.
So we're meeting a hero who is already jaded. He's not wide-eyed.
The notes explicitly say he drinks, he isn't afraid to punch people, and this is the big one. He stepped away from being a hero because of a personal tragedy.
Right. This is not an origin story. We're not seeing him get bit by a spider for the first time.
The story here is about a reluctant return. He's being pulled back in by a specific case, not a sense of duty.
And that reluctance ties into a major detail that might trip up some casual fans.
Right. We keep calling him the Spider, but we haven't actually said the name Peter Parker.
No, we haven't. And that's because, in a major deviation from the comics, the protagonist of Spider-Noir is not Peter Parker.
Which is a huge swing. In the comics, Spider-Man Noir is Peter, but here, the guy under the fedora is Ben Reilly.
And you have to ask, why the change? Why not just use Peter? Well, the showrunner, Oren Uziel, gave a really practical reason.
What was it?
He said the name Peter Parker just feels synonymous with a sort of boyish high school energy.
I could see that. You hear Peter Parker, you think of homework and Aunt May and a kid trying to figure things out.
It's hard to picture a guy named Peter Parker chain-smoking in a dark office, It just carries the baggage of youth.
So they needed someone who felt like a fully formed adult with adult problems.
And they went with Ben Reilly.
Now, for the die-hard Marvel fans, we know Ben Reilly is usually the Scarlet Spider, a clone of Peter Parker. It's all very sci-fi.
Right, but it's important to clarify, based on what we're seeing in the notes, they aren't doing the whole clone saga.
So he's not a literal clone here.
It doesn't seem like it. They're just using the name to signal a different identity. It's a way to explain his unique 1930s dialect and his much darker worldview.
It separates the character from the brand. And speaking of branding, they're not even calling him Spider-Man in the show, are they?
No, he's referred to almost exclusively as the Spider.
Which, honestly, I think fits the setting so much better.
It's a deliberate nod to those pulp crime fighters of the 1930s. Think of the Spirit or the Shadow.
Those characters were mysterious, almost supernatural figures.
Exactly. By dropping the man from the name, he sounds less like a person and more like a myth. The Spider sounds like something that hunts you.
Whereas Spider-Man sounds like someone you ask for an autograph.
It completely changes the power dynamic.
But a detective is defined by the company he keeps. So let's talk about the ensemble cast, because they have stacked this show.
They really have. And the character dynamics all seem designed to challenge Riley's cynicism. Take Robbie Robertson, played by Lamorne Morris.
I've always liked him. He has such great comedic timing.
Here he's a freelance journalist, and the notes describe him as optimistic.
Ah, so he's the foil.
The total foil. Uziel says while Riley thinks everything is doomed, Robbie operates on the belief that it's all going to work out.
The cynic and the dreamer. It's a classic noir pairing.
And then, of course, you need the femme fatale. Leah Joan Lee is playing Cat Hardy.
Clearly a reimagining of Felicia Hardy, the Black Cat.
But for the 1930s, she's a nightclub singer with underworld connections.
The inspirations she listed for the performance are just a greatest hits of femme fatale.
It's an entire film syllabus. She mentioned Anna May Wong, Rita Hayworth, Lauren Bacall, Kim Basinger.
Anna May Wong is such a great pull, a true pioneer of that era, often playing these incredibly sharp, dangerous characters.
She's the allure and the danger of the city, the one who brings the case that's going to ruin the detective's life.
And speaking of danger, we have to talk about the antagonist. Brendan Gleeson is playing Silvermane.
Perfect casting. A New York mob boss. It just writes itself.
But it's how Gleeson describes the character that's fascinating. He calls Silvermane a philosopher with a drone-eye view.
A philosopher with a drone-eye view. That's terrifying.
It implies he's not just a thug, he's a strategist. He sees the whole city as a system to be controlled.
And the notes mention he has a history with Riley.
So it's personal.
It's always personal and noir.
Rounding out the main cast is Karen Rodriguez as Janet. She's Riley's secretary and fellow investigator.
Uziel compared her to Effie from the Maltese Falcon.
Another Bogart reference.
Exactly. The secretary in these stories is the unsung hero, right? The one who actually knows what's going on while the PI is out getting punched.
So we have the cast, we have the tone, but we have to talk about how this thing actually looks.
Okay, this is where the show really leans into being an experiment.
I read about this true hue process in the production notes, and I had to read it twice.
It's a big release strategy. So when it comes out, you can watch it in authentic black and white.
Or true hue full color.
And this wasn't an afterthought. That's the critical part. A lot of productions just shoot in color and desaturate it later.
The Instagram filter approach.
Exactly. But you can't get that real 1930s noir look that way. The lighting is completely different. In black and white, you're lighting for contrast, for shape and shadow.
So how do they do it?
Well, during filming, which was from August 2024 to March 2025, they used actual black and white cameras and filters on set to get those long, dramatic shadows just right.
They committed to the monochrome look from day one.
They did. But then for the color version, the true hue one, the team split the digital footage to process this sort of Technicolor-like look.
So it's not just standard color.
No. Nicolas Cage compared the color version to The Painting Nighthawks by Edward Hopper.
Oh, the diner late at night, that iconic painting.
Yes. Famous for that fluorescent greenish tint and deep sense of isolation, Cage said the color version is super saturated. It's hyper real.
There was a great comparison in the notes that I think explains it perfectly. They said the color version feels like a Dick Tracy comic strip.
Right, a lighthearted, vibrant crime caper.
But the black and white version feels like a Raymond Chandler novel. Sinister, a moral abyss.
It's such a compelling choice for the viewer, isn't it? It effectively means you're getting two different interpretations of the same story. The entire atmosphere changes.
In color, A splash of blood is shocking. It's pulp. In black and white, it's just black ink. It's so much more grim.
Cage said he hopes it tricks modern audiences into appreciating black and white art forms.
That's an incredibly ambitious move for a streaming series, which leads us to the production context. Who's steering this ship?
It was developed by Oren Uziel and Steve Lightfoot, and Steve Lightfoot is a name Marvel fans should know.
He was the showrunner for the Punisher series.
Okay, that explains a lot about the grit. The Punisher was brutal.
For sure. And of course, it's produced by Lord Miller, although the notes mentioned there was some behind-the-scenes friction there.
Right. Their overall deal with Sony actually ended because of disagreements over the budget for this specific show.
So they were fighting for a budget that would allow for this level of visual experimentation.
It seems so. I mean, period pieces are expensive, special effects are expensive. Doing both with a dual release strategy, that costs money.
So they basically burned a bridge to make sure the show looked the way they wanted.
It speaks to the ambition of the project. This is not a content mill show.
And speaking of ambition, or maybe a lack of it, for the character, we have to talk about the tagline from the trailer.
With no power comes no responsibility.
It's cheeky, isn't it? Such a direct riff on the classic Spider-Man mantra.
It is, but beyond just being a clever marketing line, it tells you everything about the character. Great power, great responsibility is an obligation. It's a mandate born of guilt.
The Peter Parker ethos.
But if you claim no power, if you say, I'm just a guy, I'm just a PI, then you have no responsibility. You're free.
But you're also probably broken or selfish or just hiding. It tells us Ben Reilly starts this series having quit.
Exactly. He's not trying to save the world. He just wants to pay his rent.
And paradoxically, I think lowering the stakes from saving the multiverse to solving a murder actually makes the story feel more intense.
I agree, because when the hero isn't invincible, and when they don't have that moral obligation to be perfect, their choices become so much more human. The danger feels real.
He's just a guy in a coat who can get hurt.
Exactly.
So if you're listening and you were ready to see if this whole experiment pays off, here are the logistics. Spider-Noir premieres May 25th, 2026 on MGM Plus in the US.
And for everyone else, it hits Prime Video globally 2 days later on May 27th, 2026.
It's an 8-episode run, which feels like the perfect length for a tight noir mystery.
Yeah, you can tell one cohesive story without any of that monster of the week filler.
So stepping back, looking at all of this, the cast, the tone, the visuals, it really feels like Spider-Noir is trying to separate itself from that cinematic universe fatigue we all talk about.
I think that's the key appeal here. It's a distinct, stylized swing. It's focused on one genre, one character study. It's not worried about setting up 10 other movies.
And honestly, that's refreshing. It's nice to have a story that just wants to be a story.
It is. And it raises a final, provocative thought for you, the listener, to consider. We're so used to heroes defined by their immense power and the crushing weight of their responsibility.
The Superman archetype?
Exactly. But in a world dominated by these huge, high-stakes universes, does stripping a hero of that power and responsibility actually make them more compelling?
That's a great question.
Does the noir genre, with all its shadows and its moral ambiguity and its failures, does that offer a better vehicle for exploring the true cost of heroism than a standard superhero blockbuster ever could?
Does being just a guy make the heroism matter more? Something to mull over. In the meantime, seriously, go check out that trailer. It's out today.